welcome back to my channel. This is Prepping by Faith, and today I want to talk to you about the will to live. I think this is such an important topic that we don't cover nearly enough, and it's something we all need to really be thinking about during a serious SHTF. How do you keep going if things have gotten so bad that you've lost loved ones, or you've used all of your supplies down, or something happened and you've lost all of your supplies? Would you react the way you think you would? Probably not. So how do you dig deep down and find that inner will to live? First of all, we need to understand that we were designed to live by our Creator. As a Christian, I believe that death is an enemy, and it is that last one that we have to battle. So that resolve to live is hardwired into us. We fight to stay here. But we need to understand that if we lose hope, then we lose that will to live. In Proverbs 18:14 it says, "Your will to live can sustain you when you are sick, but if you lose it, your last hope is gone." For many of us, we find the will to live in our relationships with people, whether it's pushing forward to take care of our children or be here for a spouse, or it could even be to be here for another family member, whether that is a sibling or a parent or even a really close friend. Those relationships drive us to keep going and motivate us to stay in this physical realm. Now, the problems arise when those people that we care so deeply about are removed from us and have exited this world, and we are left here on our own. How then do we find that will to live and keep going? We would have to find some reason why we are still here. I believe that God has a plan and a purpose for each of us, Romans 8:28. And we know that for those who love God, all things work together for good, for those who are called according to His purpose. So I believe that no matter how bad things get, if I'm still here, there is a reason for it. Now, not everyone is going to think this way, and it would be very difficult even for many Christians if they had lost their families and everything was in utter ruins around them. They may decide that giving up is the answer because they'll be united with their families on the other side. I think we are going to have to focus on something that is still holding us here, even if it's the belief that it is God who is keeping us here. I think of Job specifically in this instance. He trusted so completely in God that even when he lost his family and he lost all of his wealth and was in pain with boils, he still stood on that hope that God would rescue him and that God would provide. Now, there is a man who truly lost it all and stood strong in his belief that God would make a way. And we know how that story ended. God did make a way. He restored everything he had and financially doubled it, gave him more children, and restored his health, all because Job stood through that test and did not let his faith collapse. Now, he did question why things were happening to him, and he did get frustrated with his situation, but he did not outright blame God for it. He ultimately decided that his human mind could not begin to understand God. I think in many ways we'd have to be like Job in order to live through a true SHTF calamity. This is where being mentally prepared is also going to be so critical. If the world around you has collapsed and things are very dark, you will have to learn to compartmentalize the ugliness around you. In many ways, you will have to become robotic and learn to put blinders on, essentially. This is how many people in war zones have to behave so that they can keep functioning. A great book that helps illustrate some of these points is the one written by Selko Begovic and Toby Cohen called SHTF Survival Boot Camp. We are actually reading this book right now with Lee from Cold War Prepper in his book club, and it helps you to gain an element of understanding as to how things would be when society has completely collapsed. Many of us are imagining this through pure speculation, and we cannot begin to understand what that is truly like until we've lived through it. But getting glimpses into this kind of world is one way to at least begin thinking about these things. One of the things Selko tells us is that we will need to get a hold of the crippling effects of fear. The fight or flight chemical reaction is impossible to stop, but practicing how to handle it is crucial to survival, especially if you are in a situation with bullets flying all around you. Panicking and running out into open fire would be a sure way to end up dead. Taking cover and assessing the situation so that you have time to process what's happening and then respond would be a better option. It's going to be very important that we wargame these things out ahead of time in our minds. That's one reason why I believe staying prepared is so important. We don't have any control over certain situations that take place. All we can have control over is how prepared we are to face them. So preparing for these things to the best of our ability, not only by stockpiling the things that we need, but also by learning new skills that will help us when we are faced with any kind of SHTF, major or minor. I know I haven't even begun to learn all of the skills I need to weather a major kind of storm, but I am taking steps in that direction, and that is what we should all be doing. Having a solid group is another thing we need to consider when faced with SHTF. Even if your group or MAG consists of several family members, that will help alleviate the burden of tasks that will be assigned, sleeping cycles, and skills needed. None of us are going to be well versed in every skill we need for survival. That's just not practical. We can, however, at least learn the basics, and each member can have more knowledge in certain skills that they are better at and more interested in. We don't all have the same giftings and talents. In conclusion, I think if we are faced with a severe SHTF, like a global conflict, riots in the streets that destroy neighborhoods, depleted resources, etc., it will be very important that we find some reason to keep us going. The will to live is very important, and it can be destroyed if we lose our hope. That's why as a Christian, my hope is not in myself or my abilities. It is placed in God and knowing that He will make a way for me if I'm still here. Ultimately, I have peace of mind in knowing that Christ paid the sacrifice for my sins so that when I leave this world, I can call heaven my home. Staying mentally ready to the best of our ability is going to be very important as well. Wargaming and planning will help us become more resourceful and prepared. The will to live is a vital part of being able to forge ahead in SHTF. If you've enjoyed this video today, please like, share, and subscribe. And remember to pray, prep, and put God first. God bless.